The Speaker, sir, the bill came for first reading back in November 2020. It was not moved for second and third reading until today. Why today? Because when a supplementary bill is presented on a Tuesday, MPs and the leader of opposition cannot ask PQs and PNQs. So I find that very regrettable because we've just received our WAP and we have so many issues to raise in this House. Now turning to the bill itself, we don't have any issues with paying the electoral commissioner for the expenses for the village council elections. With respect to the government printing, we need some explanation for the price doubling from 166 million to an additional 190 million rupees. That's a lot of money for a government printing office. With respect to the special allowance payable to police service and to the Ministry of Health and Wellness, they both relate to payment of allowance for frontliners. Again, we don't have any issue with paying a special allowance to police and health workers who had put their lives and those of their close ones at risk by being in the front line. But like we have said previously, we feel that this special allowance ought to have also been advanced to other frontliners, not just police officers and healthcare workers. I'm thinking about refuse collectors, firemen, those who work in public utilities and other essential services who exposed their lives and did not get any recognition from the state. Now the country is experiencing a second wave of COVID pandemic. The question is whether the state will pay an additional allowance to our frontliners. And if so, which category of people would be eligible for that allowance? Next, I'd like to talk about the 400 million additional fund being provided for compulsory acquisition. This is in addition to the 500 million already voted. Mr. Speaker, so we keep on voting money. The government keep on acquiring land. But is the government going ahead with the projects? Are the projects implemented? The Director of the National Audit, year in, year out, in his report is very critical of the amount of land that is compulsory acquired and not utilized. For example, last year, the Director of Audit observed that several arpents of land were vested in various ministries and remained undeveloped for a period ranging from 5 to 11 years. And 9 ministries vested with 110 arpents of land did not provide any information about availability of funds or time frame to implement 31 projects. So much resources wasted, so much money wasted. Land are acquired, but projects are not implemented. The Director of Audit, Mr. Speaker, sir, also pointed out that every year we pay millions of rupees in interest to persons whose land have been compulsorily acquired. For example, for the year 2019-2020, we have paid over 100 million rupees, because of administrative delays. The state law register software solutions, which is supposed to ensure better monitoring and efficiency in acquisition process, is still not operational. So today, again, Mr. Speaker, sir, we are being asked to vote a huge sum of money for compulsory acquisition, almost ₹500 million, 80% more than was originally budgeted, and there is absolutely no guarantee that the project will be implemented. There's absolutely no guarantee that we will not end up having to pay hundreds of millions of rupees in interest to owners whose land are being compulsorily acquired. Turning to item 10.2, Social Security and National Solidarity. An amount of 375 million rupees is being appropriated. I would be failing in my duty, Mr. Speaker, sir, at the time when we are called upon to vote this additional amount of money for all pensioners, if I did not convey to the House the greatest disappointment of our pensioners, who for the first time have not received any compensation this year for the increase in cost of living. Workers in the private and public sector obtain a salary compensation of 375 rupees, but not pensioners, not widows, not orphans. Yet the Honourable Minister of Finance acknowledged that the inflation rate will be 2.7%. In fact, because of the depreciation of the rupee by more than 10%, the prices of medicine and other imported goods used by pensioners have increased by double-digit figures. And how reckless, Mr. Speaker, sir, on the part of the Honourable Minister of Finance to state that government does not have the funds to compensate pensioners for their loss of purchasing power because government had to buy vaccines. Where are the vaccines? No compensation for pensioners, no vaccine for pensioners. It is not too late, Mr. Speaker, sir. I hope that in the coming budget, the Minister of Finance will rectify this injustice, rectifier le tir, and compensate our pensioners for the loss in purchasing power. Now let me turn to the big chunk of this budget, additional budget. Centrally managed expenses of government, a staggering 15 billion rupees, almost more than 10% of the budget we voted. Let's take it in turn. 3 billion rupees for the implementation of measures announced in the Economic Recovery Program. I've tried to look for this Economic Recovery Program on the internet, but I couldn't find anywhere, even on the website of the Ministry of Finance, I couldn't see what this Economic Recovery Program was about, save and except for Cabinet decision on 23rd of October 2020, which provided that Cabinet has agreed to the implementation of an Economic Recovery Program, which comprises a package of measures aimed at boosting GDP growth, protecting jobs and creating new ones, reducing dependence on imports and improving the well-being of the population. We don't have more details about what is this package of measures. We just heard the Honourable Minister of Finance highlighting what is included in that Economic Recovery Program. But we're talking about 3 billion rupees. That's a huge sum of money. And why have an Economic Recovery Program in October 2020, only 3 months after voting the budget? And the budget referred to Economic Recovery Plan. Everywhere in the budget there is mention of Economic Recovery Plan, and yet after 3 months the Minister of Finance come back and spend 3 billion rupees for a new Economic Recovery Program. So is it because the Honourable Minister of Finance realized that his budget was not good enough to stimulate growth and prevent unemployment? Or is it just a new scheme, Mr. Speaker, sir, to help copains, copines, air hostess, jewelers, and cronies who do not have de l'huile dans les oreilles to benefit from these 3 billion rupees of extra funds? How much of these 3 billion rupees has been earmarked for the national-wide cleaning campaign? How much has been earmarked for the nationwide cleaning campaign? Who will carry out this nationwide cleaning campaign? Has tender been launched? Who was the successful bidder? I couldn't find anywhere any bid calling for attention of professional cleaners from the private sector to compete to get value for money. No. Instead, in an article which appeared in Defi Media on the 20th of January 2021, we found out that a company by the name of Mori Facilities Management Company Limited, an affiliate, a subsidiary of Lenscoat, was recruiting 2,000 people as general cleaners with a salary of 10,200 rupees per month for a period between 3 months to 6 months for the purpose of doing this cleaning. 2,000 people in all opacity by Mauritius Facilities Management Co. Limited. And what will happen to these people after 3 months, after 6 months? Why? Is there a way for them not to be registered as unemployed so that you can boast that you have managed to preserve jobs? That reminds me of the famous 4 jours à Paris, Mr. Speaker, sir. Then we find out that funds are supposed to be used for training. According to the HRDC website, the National Training and Reskilling Scheme is targeting some 9,000 unemployed persons. Now, how many of these 9,000 unemployed persons have been trained so far? And which training institution has provided those training? How much money has been paid to these training institutions so far? So much opacity, Mr. Speaker, sir, around this 3 billion rupees earmarked for economic recovery program. Mr. Speaker, sir, this takes me to the 11.9 billion rupees for the National Property Fund and National Insurance Company. I have kept the worst for last. 11.9 billion of public funds will be injected in National Property Fund and National Insurance Company. What's a high? 11.9 billion has already been injected in NPFL and NIC. Honourable members will recall that NPFL was set up in May 2015 to take over assets of BAI to repay super cashback gold policyholders and investors in Brahma Asset Management Limited. NIC was set up to take over the insurance business of BAI. All along, there has been many PQs, many PNQs in this House about BAI, about NPFL, about NIC, about super cashback gold policyholders and Brahma Asset Management investors. All along, government insisted that no public funds will be used to repay the victim of BAI. Answering to a PQ on 28th of March 2017, the then Minister of Financial Services, Honourable C. Sankar, stated, and I quote, "However, as a responsible government, and as clearly stated by my predecessor to the PNQ dated 3 May 2016, and I quote, we will not take public funds." This was said in this House. We will not take public funds. A few months later, on 18th of June 2017, at a press conference, Honourable Etienne Sinatambu, sitting next to Honourable Harry Ram, who is not here, stated, and I quote, "Une solution a été trouvée pour les souscripteurs au plan Super Cashback Gold, et ce n'est pas l'argent des contribuables qui sera utilisé. Ce n'est pas l'argent des contribuables qui sera utilisé." All along, this government has been telling the population not 1 cent of the population will be used to pay for the victim of the BAI. And we know that today, if we are having to ratify 11.9 billion of taxpayer, 11.9 billion of expenditure, it is because the government mishandled the whole BAI matter. Everybody knows that the assets of BAI were sold off for peanuts, bradé, be it Iframak, Coates, Apollo Hospital, Brahma Kenya, and Britam Kenya. All these were disposed at a fraction of their value. And I'm not going to go on and on about Omega R. But today, Mr. Speaker, sir, we pay pas à la caisse. 11.9 billion rupees. But it's not 11.9 billion rupees, Mr. Speaker, sir, is it? The Honourable Minister of Finance can tell us. It's not 11.9 billion rupees that we will have to pay. No. We have to add to that 11.9 billion rupees, 3.5 billion rupees advanced by the Bank of Mauritius in June 2016. And we have to add 6 billion rupees already injected by government in Mobank, which is a merger between Brahma Bank and NPCB. So if we take 11.9 billion plus 3.5 of Bank of Mauritius plus 6 billion of Mobank, that gives us 21.5 billion rupees. Mismanagement of BAI has cost us taxpayers 21.5 billion rupees so far. So far, that's more than the cost of Metro Express. How many houses, how many hospitals, how many drains, how many roads could be built by this 21.5 billion rupees? So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I hope at least the Minister of Finance, this government, the Prime Minister will have the decency now to apologize to the population for taking so much money to clear their mess. Thank you.